Hi everybody. This video is going to be a little bit different. I was on my Facebook, and a few days ago a picture of me from 2011 came up, and I shared it as a memory, and I wrote on the post something like, "I wish I could have warned me at the time of what was going to come." And a friend of mine was like, "What do you mean warn you about something?" And I was like, "Oh, that was the year my mom passed away." And I read a few posts from my blog, ocdbloggergirl.wordpress.com. Link in the description. Hopefully, I don't think I'll get upset because it's been so many years, and I can just sort of imagine it happened to somebody else, at this point in my life, because it's been 8 years now since all this happened. We'll see. Anyway, September 8th, 2011. This was just a few days before my mom went into the hospital and died. Just what the hell was it that we picked up at the hospital? I think my mom has viral pneumonia, and I think I have a mild case myself. About 3 days after we left the hospital from accompanying a friend, my mom took sick. For most of the time I was back in the ER with my friend and her friend in Clorox-scented safety. My mom, however, was left to marinate in the germs of the waiting room. It started with a sore throat, runny nose, coughing, and bloomed into muscle aches, tightness in chest, loss of appetite, and weakness. I think her sore throat is gone, but everything else remains, though at times she says she's feeling a bit better. I'm really nervous, but she swears she'll go to the doctor if her phlegm turns yellow. I'm still scared. My mom is 68 and a smoker, so when it hit me, it struck a lot less hard, but it's still there for me too. I had a terrible sore throat and stuffy nose for a few days, but it lifted. Now, exactly 2 weeks after I caught this bastard, I still had a bad cough, but that's about it. It'll take worse than that for me to go to the doctor, if you remember the great kidney infection of 2010. I'm starting to think September is bad luck since the kidney debacle happened in September. I'd be more worried about myself if I alone had a persistent cough, so it can't be 2-for-1 lung cancer thing. I'm assuming whatever we have is viral because I'm assuming we'd be really sick if we were bacterial. My mom is dead and I ain't feeling super swift either. September 16th, 2011. How do I tell you about the worst thing that could ever happen to me? If it weren't for the 3 cats I'm blessed with, I would want to be with my mother right now. I don't want to live anymore. I want my mom to pull me into her arms and take me with her, but I can't. She wants me to keep loving her cats, to live. I don't want to be alone. How do I ever recover? I feel like I will never ever be happy again. How can I be happy when everything reminds me of my mom? How can anything not remind me of her? Even when I was away from home, I called her twice a day. I thought we had longer, Mom. You were only 68. Every time I'd say life insurance, you'd say you had no intention of dying yet, that everything would work out just fine for me when you died. That I'd be ready, but I'm not ready at all. No one will ever love me the way you did or understand me like you did. I'll never love anyone like I love you, Mom. How am I going to stay in my home? How am I going to live on $674 a month? I vomited this morning while trying to clean the house. I don't think I'm sick. I have a social worker coming this afternoon. I have to stay alive. And so many people are being kind to me. People are good. I will have to tell you the whole story, the good, bad, and the ugly sometime. It is too fresh. What happened to my mom and me, part 1, October 4th, 2011. It's been 3 weeks since my mother's death as of today, Tuesday, October 4th, 2011. I don't believe I'm a contender for the Daughter of the Year award. My mother until today remained in a hospital morgue, no doubt decomposing. Only today was I financially able to send my mother to the crematorium, and the funeral director came to see me at my friend's apartment down the hall. My home is in a state of disarray and only getting worse day by day. I tend to my cats and the few remaining plants that are in my mom's room. The rest of it can go to hell. We had a yard sale in the courtyard of my apartment building. Took in $90, but it doesn't even scratch the surface of all the things accumulated in 8 years of living in that apartment. I wasn't able to tell about my mother and me for a while, but now I'm strong and numb enough to tell her story. It may take a few entries because a lot has gone down in 3 weeks. I didn't know my mother was dying, and it's a blessing that she didn't either. It was a cold. Just a common cold cough, maybe in an emergency room, maybe at the local grocery store. My mother was healthy too. She had no compromised immune system, was full of life. The first week passed and I got the cold too, but I slowly got better. My mother didn't. 2 weeks went by and I began to campaign to get her to go to the doctor. No, I'm getting better. No, I think I'm getting better. I'll go next week if I don't get better. I once even threw my phone and nearly hit Dondi the cat. Not my intention. I remember mumbling terrible words. Hopefully she didn't hear a word that started with a B, maybe even a C word, but she forgave me like always. I don't think I deserved forgiveness, but if she hadn't forgave me, told me I know you were just worried and you're hungry, I would have that on my conscience for life. I'm really embarrassed about that. Really, 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 really bad. But what can I do now? All our arguments seem petty now. My mother was the one who would throw me into rages of my own making, my perfectionism and frustration. So stupid of me, so bitchy. I'm so thankful for her saying, I know you're just worried about me. So thankful. I should have known she was dying when she stopped watering her plants, when she wanted me to drive everywhere, when she cleaned food and drink containers out when she was done with them. I watered the plants a couple of times, but I was still weak and sick, coughing hard at exertion. Mama, I'm sorry. I tried so hard to get you to go to the doctor, but you were afraid of the cost, and you were a former RN afraid of medical help. I'm really sorry. Then Monday, September 12th, 2011 came. I need to go to the doctor. You were right. I'm not getting any better. I always like to be right, but not this time. We debate on a walk-in clinic or the hospital. I call the walk-in clinic. $168 for a visit, up to $200 if a patient needs an x-ray. My mother had Medicare, $100 deductible, though she never used it before. We decided the ER is the best bet. You can be billed. My mother realized she couldn't walk enough to get to the car anyway. We came up with a plan so that we wouldn't be separated at the hospital. I'd call our friends Elsie and Bob. They'd come to take me to the hospital, and we wouldn't call the ambulance until they came. It wasn't a matter of life or death anyway, right? I called my best friend to let her know what was happening, and she said she would try to come out after work. Waiting more for my friends, I tweeted on my phone, trying not to act afraid, dissolved Ativan under tongue. Mom needs hospital. And then, why is it everything bad happens in September? Autumn's revenge. And then, I wish my friends would get here. I still have urge to vomit. While waiting for our friends, I avoided my mother sitting in her chair in the kitchen. Being with her made me more anxious. I'm sorry, Mama. When my friends got there, I called 911. I told the dispatcher we thought she had pneumonia and that she was so weak she had trouble walking. The woman told me not to let her drink anything anymore in case it affects what the rescue squad does to her. My mom thought this was silly but complied. Though my mother could barely walk, she insisted on changing the garbage bag and I took out the trash. I helped my mother get to her ragged recliner and then went to meet the ambulance. The rescue workers took one look at the flooded apartment and couldn't figure out how to get the stretcher inside, so I said, "It's mainly mine. I kinda hoard stuff." More fodder for the Daughter of the Year award. The rescue worker listened to my mother's lungs and said they didn't sound too bad, but they decided to take her in her weakened state. When they got my mom in the ambulance, they waited a long time stabilizing her inside, as is customary now. I rushed to the apartment, finding whatever I could. My mom's toiletries, drinks and food in case I got weak, and a few amusements for me in case we had to stay a long time. I checked my cat's food and water, then we were off. Rush Limbaugh played in the background of Elsie and Bob's truck as we made the 5-minute trip to the hospital. My mother and I often listened to him in the car while eating lunch, hearing the other side of things, and it was sunny. To be continued. What happened to my mom and me, part 2. When someone is brought to the ER via ambulance, the people who come to be with their loved ones must wait for admittance. We go to the visitor's desk, but Mom hasn't been registered in the computer yet, so the woman tells us to wait 15 minutes. We comply. I hope Elsie and Bob don't catch something here like I believe Mom did. They are 88 and 80 years old, and if my mom caught a cold bad enough to bring her to the hospital, think what would happen to them. I feel so alone though, so I am grateful that they came. I returned to the visitor's desk and my mother still hasn't been registered in the computer, so the woman is kind enough to go find where they've taken her. When she returns, I go to my mother on my own, since it's hospital policy to only allow 2 people at a time, and it wouldn't have been right to drag Elsie back there to see what's happening or exhaust her. I'm led far into the emergency room, away from the run-of-the-mill curtained-off beds and into another section, which must be the area for people in respiratory distress. There was my mother in a hospital gown. She is wearing an oxygen tube in her nose like the one my grandmother used at home the last 13 years of her life. This is what I remember of our last conversation, which happened between doctors and nurses coming in and out of the little room. "Hi," I say cheerfully, as though punctuating the shitty day with a grin. "Hi." "Oh well, at least there'll be something to blog about," I said. "Great, I'm going to be blogged," said Mom with fake, maybe, annoyance. "Are you nervous?" And the award for the dumbest question of the year goes to me. Yeah. My mother is uncomfortable. She needs another pillow. I foolishly asked the doctor if she could have one, so no, she didn't get an extra pillow. My mother's throat is so dry from coughing and not eating, so that she talks like her dentures are out of her mouth for a couple of days now. They give her ice to suck on, because they won't allow her to drink. I think she might have snuck a little down her throat anyway. The full oxygen mask is now being used because the one for her nostrils doesn't seem to help her, and she said so herself. At some point, Mama says to me, "I'm sorry to put you through this." I tell her I was just glad she was finally getting help. The 3 weeks leading up to the hospital had been hellish for me as I watched my mom's decline. She had suffered. The fits of coughing were long and frequent. "I'm not coughing up anything yellow. I'll be all right," she had said. Nearly falling a few times, one time even needing a neighbor to help her through the hall. "If I faint, I'll just wake right up the moment I hit the ground." "It's okay," she would say. I think my mom's last words was a garbled attempt to ask me to sneak her some water, but I couldn't tell for sure. She said something like, "Doctor, never mind," when the doctor appeared. The doctor, a kind man with a European accent, takes me outside the curtained room to talk to me. I doubt my mom heard us in the commotion of treatments and the general sounds of a busy ER. I hope she didn't. "I'm going to level with you. Your mother is a very sick woman. The infection has spread to her blood. We'll keep pumping her with antibiotics and do what we can, but there's a chance she will die." I asked him what are her chances of living. 50-50. I don't cry. I am polite. I thank him for telling me the truth and that I appreciated all he was doing for my mother, that I was sure he would do his best. My mother's dying, but Emily Post would approve. Through the course of all of this, I went out to my friends, who said they were my family, for fear no one would deliver the message to come out to the waiting room. They had left and returned to check on me. I tell them all I know, plus that my mother's heart is in a fibrillation, and that I overheard a doctor say kidney failure. I tell them that I'll call them if I need a ride and to update them. They are going to put my mom on a respirator and stick a huge IV to give antibiotics near her neck. It looks more like something one would plug into a wall outlet, and I know it hurt my mother. Though I was too chicken shit to watch, I heard her groan. "Mom, I should have been there and held your hands through everything. You would have done it for me. I'm sorry." Luckily, the sedation probably kicked in by the time they put the respirator down her throat. By then, they sent my pacing ass back into the waiting room to do this and prepare her for the medical ICU. This isn't really happening. She was supposed to go to the hospital, get some antibiotics, maybe stay the night to be rehydrated. 50% chance of living. Those odds aren't bad. She'll live. Antibiotics will save her. They're just telling me she might die, just in case. She's always been healthy before now. It takes her a long time to get over colds because she's been smoking since 17. She's only 68. Her mom was 85 when she died. Her grandmothers were 91 and 80-something. Not happening. A little girl about 3 years old comes up to me and says hello in the waiting room. I say hello back, but when she leaves, I feel my tears. And that's the end of part 2. And then I wrote an update on October 12th, 2011. "Okay, this is just a little note telling everyone I'm okay. I'm living with a gay couple down the hall. One was a chef, so I'm eating well. One loves me, but the other is indifferent. My cats will be living here with their 2 pugs. Hopefully when my cats go out, they won't get lost. My mom died September 13th, cremated October 6th, and we'll have a memorial service on October 15th. That's how us ghetto folk take care of their dead. Love, Lisa." As you can tell, I'll be flippant and cynical and try to hide things with my comedy and this type of stuff. It's not really funny, but it's what I do, and that's how I am. Let me have a sip of that drink.